Imagine a man so powerful that even behind bars, he still dictates the rules of crime. A man whose name echoes through the streets of Rio de Janeiro. Who is Marcinho VP? And how does he manage to control an empire of crime from prison? Stay with me, because today we're uncovering the dark truth behind one of Brazil's most feared criminals. Welcome to Discover Brazil. Here, we bring you the real and hidden stories about Brazil, the ones that most people don't talk about. If you like content like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications because today's story is shocking. Stay until the end to see real images and understand the full extent of Marcinho VP's power. Born as Marcio dos Santos, Nepomuceno, he grew up in the favelas of Rio and quickly rose through the ranks of crime. His journey into the criminal underworld was not an accident. It was a direct consequence of the environment he was raised in. He became the leader of the Comando Vermelho, one of the largest criminal factions in Brazil. But what many people don't know is that before becoming a notorious drug lord, Marcinho VP, whose real name was Marcio Amaro de Oliveira, committed robberies to make money. His criminal career evolved as he started dealing drugs, eventually earning the trust of powerful figures within the faction. He was born in the Vigário Geral favela in the northern part of Rio de Janeiro, a place known for extreme poverty and gang conflicts. His father was murdered when he was still young, leaving him without a male role model. His mother was arrested 4 times, struggling to support her family. He was raised by an aunt, but the streets became his real school. By the time he was a teenager, Marcinho was already involved in organized crime, working for major traffickers and learning how the system worked from the inside. Even after his arrest in 1997, his influence never faded. In fact, some argue that being in prison only made him more powerful, as he could operate from the shadows without being constantly hunted by the police. While many believe that being in a maximum security prison means losing control over criminal activities, the reality in Brazil is very different. Even behind bars, Marcinho VP continued to pull the strings of the underworld. Despite strict regulations, Brazilian prisons are infamous for allowing inmates access to cell phones, often smuggled in by corrupt officials. Through encrypted messages and direct calls, Marcinho VP continued giving orders. Lawyers, family members, and even guards have been caught acting as intermediaries, carrying messages from inside the prison to key members of the Comando Vermelho on the streets. His name alone is enough to command absolute loyalty, and those who betray him face brutal consequences. This ability to maintain control from prison is not unique to Marcinho VP. Several leaders of Brazilian criminal factions operate the same way, highlighting a major flaw in the country's justice system. Even in prison, Marcinho VP still commands criminal operations, including drug trafficking, kidnappings, and ordered executions. But how is this possible? How can someone inside a maximum security facility still hold so much power? Some of the main reasons include the flawed Brazilian prison system, where overcrowded and underfunded institutions are often controlled by inmates rather than the authorities. Gangs run operations inside the cells, making prisons more like headquarters than punishment centers. There is also the corruption inside prisons. Many guards and officials accept bribes to smuggle in cell phones, drugs, and even weapons. Investigations have shown that high-ranking criminals continue to live in luxury inside their cells. And of course, the fear and loyalty within the Comando Vermelho. Marcinho VP's faction is known for extreme violence. Anyone who dares to disobey or betray him faces severe consequences, ensuring that his orders are always followed. Experts who have studied the case reinforce this reality. Some argue that Marcinho VP's influence within organized crime is a reflection of the state's inefficiency in truly combating drug trafficking. Others claim that the lack of control inside Brazilian prisons allows these criminals to keep operating as if they were free. There are even rumors in Rio de Janeiro that the government itself benefits from crime in some way, making secret agreements with criminal factions to maintain a fragile peace in certain areas. But how much of this is true? But here is the big question. Will Marcinho VP ever lose his power? Will the government be able to put an end to this criminal network? Or will he continue to rule for years, even from behind bars. One thing is clear. His story is far from over, and as long as the system remains broken, figures like Marcinho VP will continue to thrive. While Marcinho VP continues to lead crime from behind bars, thousands of people suffer the consequences every day. Entire communities live under the control of drug lords, with little to no government intervention. The flow of drugs fuels addiction, destroys families, and increases crime rates in Brazil and abroad. The high cost of the war against drug trafficking drains billions of dollars annually on security forces, yet the problem only seems to grow. The biggest irony? Many of the police operations against factions like the Comando Vermelho end up affecting innocent residents more than the actual leaders of these criminal groups. Marcinho VP may be behind bars, but his influence remains stronger than ever. His story is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Organized crime in Brazil is a deep and complex issue that won't be solved overnight. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you think the government will one day be able to truly stop this influence inside prisons? Or will the system continue to fail, allowing criminals like Marcinho VP to remain in power? Leave your comment below. I want to hear what you think. Subscribe to Discover Brazil and stay tuned for more real and shocking stories about Brazil.
Eu tive perto de morrer inúmeras vezes. As marcas de batalha do passado tá pelo meu corpo, é todo furado de bala, tem um tiro de fuzil na cabeça, estilhaços de granada no peito, tem um tiro 45 aqui no ombro, tem um tiro de fuzil na coxa. A morte é uma coisa que nenhum de nós escaparemos, né? Encaramos ela como uma coisa assim natural, assim. Nenhum de nós escaparemos dela. A coisa mais certa dessa vida é a morte. No passado eu fui integrante, né, Silvio? Foi apenas mais um mero soldado, um menino soldado. O que acontece? Hoje, estou 21 anos preso. Exigia planejamento e colaboração também para poder levantar certinho a quantia de valor que
Alguém da empresa ajudava?
Corretíssimo. Já houve casos, nós acabamos de assaltar um carro forte, ali no Lago do Jacaré ali, subi pro Morro da Mangueira por malote e logo na sequência, dá tempo, acabar de chegar na Mangueira, 2 helicópteros já foram voando, o bonde espalhar. A própria polícia prendeu alguns irmãos numa das casas e o malote desapareceu, né? Todo o dinheiro do carro forte desapareceu. A delegacia só foi apresentar suas armas, a polícia chegou apaisando, surpresa, me renderam, me algemaram. Dentro da minha própria casa, fizeram da minha casa o próprio cativeiro, exigiram uma certa quantia na época, meio elevada que eu não tinha. Me deram um telefone celular na época para me poder estar em contato com meus parceiros no Rio de Janeiro.